episode of Chatty Broads with Bekah and Jess.
Well, hello, bros. Hello. I feel like Ember's been watching a lot of holiday style movies lately, and there's just a lot of the like the old timey singing, and so she's been traveling around my home, just doing a lot of this like Snow White business, like
what's she watching?
Singing. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of movies that I've never heard of before.
It's like weird, obscure cartoons that were made in the 80s and 90s.
There's that, but there's also there's just so much stuff. Yeah. Like there's so much content to consume out there. There's all these new like kid movies that are like, holiday or like Halloween-ish, and that she's watching that I'm like, I have no idea like what this is, but I love the classics, but that's the old millennial in me that I'm like, I like all the old stuff. This new stuff just seems a little wild to me, but
I mean, they're churning it out, right? I feel like in the past they used to focus on quality over quantity.
That's very true. There is a lot to consume now, quite a bit to consume. So, okay, I need to know about your Botox experience.
Oh.
Tell me everything. Also, look at me right now and try to move your face.
I'm like actually not trying to be funny. I don't like it.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I don't like hate it. Like I look great, obviously.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
But I can't.
Yeah.
I can't frown my brows.
Yeah. Can you lift them?
Yeah.
Because you got the brow, because you didn't put anything on the.
No, and she only did like one little thing on this side because she said my brows were uneven. So she didn't even do it on both sides.
Oh, okay.
I just got the 11s, and then I felt like I wanted the brow thing, but then like I said, she just did a little bit on this side to like bring one up slightly, and it hasn't even been 2 weeks. But
see, I wasn't sure because when I get the 11s done, which broads, if you're listening, that's in between the eyebrows.
Like when you make like an angry face, you get like two lines generally. That's why they call it the 11s.
I get the the first time I got the 11s done, because I've had this one like deep line in between my eyebrows most of my life. And so I started getting it done pretty young. That was the only thing. That was the first thing I ever started to get done, and that was really the only thing I ever got done for quite some time. Because it just personally bugged me. So, but the first time I got it done, I don't know if I'm super sensitive to Botox or if the injector put like too much in, but it continued to happen afterwards. The toxins went way past my 11s and went halfway up my forehead.
That kind of is what's happening to me. If you see, I only have lines now at the top.
Yeah, and so then that's when I started to get my full forehead done. I didn't want to, but then I started to get my full forehead done because I didn't want just lines at the top, because then I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely only getting lines at the top now.
And then I was like, oh my God. And at the time too, when I started to get my 11s done, Botox was still, it wasn't really talked about. And it was still kind of like, you don't share if you get Botox. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, it's so obvious that I have Botox now, because when I lift my eyebrows up, it's completely flat and I have these really deep 2 lines at the top. So it's clear that I have Botox. So then I needed to hide it from people, because at the time I wasn't being
so I need bangs.
Honest with people. No, so I got them the full forehead, because I feel like I have to even out.
I feel like it's one of those things though, unless people get like a decent amount. Okay. The only way I can describe this is before I got eyelash extensions, I never really noticed when other people had eyelash extensions.
Yeah, okay.
And then when I started to get eyelash extensions, then I could notice when every other person...
True.
And
very true.
I feel like now it's the same thing with Botox. Now I'm noticing in myself what I can and can't move. And so now I'm looking at everyone and
everybody, you're like,
Botox?
Oh, you have Botox.
Yeah, you have Botox. Whereas before I only really noticed if people had like, their eyebrows a little bit more like up and like the kind of more like obvious Botox. But yeah, now I'm looking at everyone and I'm like, Botox.
Yeah,
Botox,
you're like,
Botox,
you can't
Botox,
move.
Botox. Yeah. Which is like all of Los Angeles. I'm like Botox in the lines at the coffee shop. I'm like Botox. All of you have Botox.
I mean, yeah, everybody.
I don't know. I don't mind. The one thing I will say I like about it is that especially immediately after I got it, I almost felt like it was the equivalent of when you like put your shoulders back and bring them down and relax. And you're like, oh, okay, this is nice. It almost like takes a little bit of like, oftentimes if I'm sitting and working at the computer or something like that, and if I'm like, and then I relax my face and then I'm like, it's almost constant like that in your forehead, right? You're constantly relaxing your forehead. Mm-hmm. So I like that aspect of it. It like feels kind of good, but maybe I'll get used to it, but I really don't like the feeling that I can't control a large part of my face.
I was telling you the first time that I got it done, the feeling like really weirded me out for a little while, just because it was like, oh, it feels like you can feel that it's not moving. And it almost feels heavy a little bit. Yeah. But not like where it's like bothersome heavy, but like it's
a little
more
restrained.
Like you're aware of it. Like you can think about it sometimes. But that was my thing because I had that deep line in between my eyebrows. It's because I ended up finding out as soon as I married Evan that when I was asleep, I always sleep full furrow eyebrow. Oh. And I clench my jaw.
Yeah.
But I felt the same way. As soon as I got Botox, I'm like, my headaches kind of dissipated a little bit because it was like, you're relaxed. I was doing the Calm app the other day. Mm-hmm. And the first part of the meditation was
unfurrow your brow.
So they go, relax your forehead. And I was like, I can't relax it anymore. I have no movement in it.
So when they do it for TMJ, do they do it like around your jaw area?
No, they inject your muscle, the master muscle right here. So when you bite down, push on that, and then release it. Those are the muscles that you're feeling. So they direct in, like they inject into the muscle.
Fuck, does that hurt?
It's not comfortable. That's the only one that really like bugs me.
I can imagine. But I would imagine that doesn't limit your facial expression very much, like at all.
No, not at all.
I might try getting that done because I could like feel that relaxation in my forehead, and I might try that in my TMJ.
That was a life changer for me. Is like I always tell people, I'm like, if I tomorrow was like, hey, I can't do any glamour aesthetic purchases at all, the one thing that I would spend my money on is the jaw, even though it's not like a physical thing or like aesthetic a looks aesthetic thing. But I'm like, I just do that. The pain that went away. Now I'm no doctor, okay? So don't, come for me, and I'm not telling everybody to go do it. I'm just saying for me personally, that was a game changer.
Yeah, I've had pretty constant TMJ issues for years, so I might do that. My migraines are like, haven't really noticed a shift, and like it's just more like general stress of like that it's relaxing me more. But I don't know, I feel like I'm such a facial expression person. Like I love being like, or like I love doing I really do. I didn't realize until getting this done how so much of my identity is in these very like all these different things I do with my face. And so not being able to do that.
Yeah. Now, broads, when you watch this podcast, it's just going to be two women with frozen faces. Just like, wow, I can't believe he did that. That was wild.
Yeah, I didn't even get that much. It's really not that crazy. It's more like for me, I notice it and I feel it. And then there's also a part of me too, of course, that's always like, stick it to the man. And I'm like, but my wrinkles are a sign of like my years of expression and life experience. Of course. They are a part of me. And so I'm getting all like existential with that and being like, I like other signs of aging. Like I really like gray hair. I even am interested seeing like how my hands get more wrinkly. Like I don't like aging because I don't like feeling like my time is running out because there's only so much time to do all these things I want to do. But at the same time, I'm like, I think it's so interesting to like see, to witness my body changing and shifting.
Okay, broads, quick pause. Listen, after 18 months of house slippers and fuzzy socks, I'm going to do myself a favor and take it really slow when I ease back into, proper outdoor shoes. Let's just say heels are a pipeline dream right now, unless absolutely necessary. My priority when it comes to shoes has shifted a bit, and right now, it's all about the comfort, baby. But of course, I don't want to sacrifice all the style for the sake of comfort, and that is why I love ROTHY'S so much. It's the perfect combination.
Okay, if you're on the hunt for a comfortable pair of fall shoes, ROTHY'S has the most amazing merino wool collection that is launching for the 3rd year in a row. So if you missed out on the last 2 years, don't sleep on this collection again. You're going to get all the comfort and style you would normally expect from a pair of ROTHY'S shoes, and they're still 100% machine washable, just like all of the ROTHY'S classics you already know and love. And I personally love merino wool.
That's right, broads. You heard it, 100% machine washable. Everyone in my family has at least one pair of ROTHY shoes, including my very active kindergartner. With her other shoes, I would be worried about how often we would have to replace them. But with ROTHY's, we just throw all of our pairs in the wash when they're looking like they've seen better days, and they always come out looking good as new.
To help you welcome fall season in style, ROTHY'S is doing something special. They gave us the chance to share this super rare opportunity with our listeners for a limited time, because right now you can get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/chatty. That's ROTHYS.com/chatty. Head to rothys.com/chatty to find your new favorites. $20 off. rothys.com/chatty.
There are a lot of things in life that straight up stink. Sleeping through your alarm before a big meeting, for example, stinks. Finding out someone ate the leftovers that you've been dreaming about all afternoon stinks. Getting home from the store to realize you forgot the one thing you need totally stinks. But do you know what definitely doesn't stink? You, if you use Native deodorant.
Oh my gosh, love Native. I feel like I can't get enough of them. It started out with my obsession with their aluminum-free deodorant, and now Native has even more to offer, and they are very quickly taking over my bathroom with all of their products.
Seriously, though, I pretty much have an entire drawer dedicated just to my Native product collection at this point. Of course, as Bekah said, I've got the Native deodorant and my personal favorite scent, citrus and herbal musk. I have so many scents, they're amazing, but I couldn't stop there. I've got the matching body wash, the natural toothpaste, and their new mineral-based sunscreen for face and body, which I honestly need to just keep a backstock of because I use it so much. It is hands down one of the most important steps in my daily skincare now. You could even build your own personalized product bundles at native.com to keep your bathroom stocked with your favorites.
Stay fresh. Stay clean with Native by going to nativedeo.com/chatty or use promo code chatty at checkout and get 20% off your first order. So that's nativedeo.com/chatty or just use promo code chatty at checkout for 20% off your first order.
I think aging is one of the most beautiful things like ever. It's fantastic. I personally have always loved, I like an aesthetic where not like when I look at everybody, but for myself personally, always loved looking fake as fuck.
I know, you've said that before. You're like, I would get huge grapefruit, like fake boobs.
I would get gigantic fake boobs, except for the fact that like you can't lift your arms. And I'm just like, when would I just don't feel like this just feels like a nightmare.
It's almost like, this is a really bizarre description, but it's almost like, I understand what you're saying. It's almost like a rubber fetish of sorts. It's
yes,
like people's...
and I'm obsessed with like looking at like latex and like, yeah.
Like it's the texture, right? Yes. And when you look at someone's face and it looks almost rubbery in like their foreheads and lips and cheeks and breasts and like,
yeah.
I completely understand that. I feel that way. I've always felt that way about Trish Paytas. Like I find her
I love looking at her.
Something about her is like rubbery.
Yes.
Is the only way I can describe it, and it's like pleasing.
Yes.
Like I'm not gonna say like get turned on, but it's like it's satisfying.
Yes. It's extremely satisfying.
So I actually totally understand what you're saying. Because I know it sounds wild, but there's just like when I look at other people, I feel like, and I, enjoy visually looking at other people, it wouldn't make sense that I'm getting like filler or because I love, like you're saying, aging. I think it's so beautiful. Even just like personal preference as far as like what I find sexually appealing. I like gray hair. I like a zaddy. You know what I mean? But for me, I'm like, I love fake. I think that
I know. I can't wait to get the DMs, people just being like, this feels unhealthy. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's for me personally, because like fashion and that type of stuff has always been like an art form to me. So there's something about it almost like looking like a mannequin maybe that is kind of like, ooh, this looks pretend that I like.
Do you feel what I'm saying about the rubbery thing in particular?
Yes,
when people's like skin is like so stretched tight, it's like shiny.
Yes,
and it's
and
like
I love when I like I don't like not being able to move, but I love when I'm like looking and like I feel super shiny. I'm like, I enjoy the shine of this.
I almost feel like with lip injections and stuff, I almost prefer when people do more, because I like this. It's interesting. It's like not. I hear what you're saying, because you're like, it's not like I look at someone and I like am like, that's the kind of person I want to date or like be with.
Right.
But is it almost like a fascination kind of like, I do like to see people's lips like very like balloony and kind of like swollen and like.
I don't necessarily even look at it and go, like when I look at the like full face, I don't look at it and go, this looks good. Right. I like looking at the way it looks like zoomed. My lens like zooms in on it, and like the way
I kind of feel the same way. I understand what you're saying.
I don't know what it is.
It's like this swollenness and like,
like something's gonna burst.
Yes, I really understand what you're saying. And
it's
like I was saying,
a form of trauma, but
I even like the way it looks when women's ankles and feet, like not like the way it looks, but when women's feet and ankles are really swollen in pregnancy, I want to like touch it.
Yes. I don't know what it is. I completely feel the same way. And I want that on myself sometimes. But again, it's not like I'm not actually going to go get double D's. But I'll do feel, because I'm like, I know I don't actually want to look like that completely. Because it's not like I like to dress in like latex and whatever. But I want a little taste of it because I love looking at it.
Have you ever seen like anime that is like, I don't even know what the subgenre of it would be called, but it's sort of like okay, you know how there's like anime or like hentai that's very like traditional Japanese-esque, where it's like sort of more like this Japanese cartoon form?
Yes.
But have you ever seen where it's sort of like this weird hyper-realism, like 3D kind of anime?
I think so.
Because
like
I feel like you would really like that. No, it's almost like, I don't know, I'll have to find it and like send an example to you. But they'll do like these like sort of like 3D, like these like robot characters, but they're very like shiny and smooth, and they're like, I don't know how else to describe it.
I probably would love it. I don't know. I really
and
don't know.
It's very like fake, but it looks real at the same time.
Yeah, I probably would love it. I wish I could. So can someone send a DM if you are a doctor and can diagnose what exactly this is? Because like you saying, like the latex thing.
Oh, I found it like immediately. Yeah, it's like contemporary 3D, and it's like okay, this is a very weird example, but this kind of art.
Oh my God.
I feel like I just nailed it for you.
This is 100% what I'm talking about.
It's
like, it looks like latexy. It looks almost wet. Oh my God.
Yes.
On TikTok, when all those like TikTok makeup artists have been doing like the jelly makeup that looks like the whole skin is like covered in Vaseline, I'm obsessed. Yeah. I'll watch it for hours. Yeah. That is exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And there's whole...
But I'm not like, oh yeah. It's just my eyes like it.
Yes. I mean, it can definitely be erotic. There's a lot of artists like this. I'm sorry, guys. The one I'm looking on Instagram right now is Jason Ebeyer, Jason Ebeyer, and you can look at it and see what I'm talking about. But it's like these wet, like rounded. It's just,
oh my God, I love it so much.
Yeah,
I want that like art in my house.
You're like, I want to be that.
It kind of reminds me of the same fulfillment. Like when I was from the 6-month pregnant mark with Ember to the end of my pregnancy. Yeah.
Is this you?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay, sorry, continue.
Oh my God, that is me once my hair is grown out. Oh my gosh, that is actually my life goal.
Go look it up, guys. Jason, you better. Continue.
So when I was like most of the months of my pregnancy, I had this one thing. Like, I didn't have a lot of weird like cravings or anything like that.
Yeah.
But what I did have was there was one day I was at my mom's house and she bought this new soap. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but she bought this new soap, and I smelled the soap, and euphoria was like shooting through my body. And I was like, oh my God. And I started to like wash my hands, and I was like, I could smell it. And then I'm like, oh my God. And we both hate washing dishes. For 4 months, my hobby was washing dishes. I would wash clean dishes because I liked the feeling of scrubbing and the smell of the suds. And my mom, as a present, bought me like 4 gallons of this soap because and then it got to a point where.
What soap is it? Do you remember?
It's like a grape. I forget the actual name of it. It's like it looks like a aromatherapy almost style bottle, and it's a grapefruit smell, which I'm not even like a grapefruit person.
This is dish soap.
Dish soap. Okay. It got to a point in my pregnancy where I was so desperate for this soap that like, not only was I just washing dishes all day because of the euphoria going through my body when I would smell it and like feel the suds. One day, Evan walked in on this and he was like, we have a problem. I one day took that bottle and a sponge into my bathtub
to wash yourself with it.
And I was washing like every part of my body with the soap. And there was nothing about it that felt erotic to me. It was like euphoria. And I washed my body. I was dry as a bone. Just scales from washing dish soap all over my body.
And then after you gave birth, were you like, what
I was completely over it. The second I gave birth, and honestly, I grieved.
The feeling.
I grieved the feeling that when I would smell it, it wouldn't do that for me anymore because it brought me so much simple, divine euphoria. And that's kind of how I feel about explaining this texture we're talking about, is when I look at it, my eyes feel like euphoria, but it's not like, oh my God, that's so hot. I'm like, yes, I just want to keep looking at it.
It's like the feeling, something I used to really be into when I was a kid was I would love to bite off the erasers off the ends of the pencil. And
that feels very like, I didn't have that, but that like it resonates.
Being able to, that momentary bliss of biting into the eraser. I was so obsessed with it, like 5th or 6th grade. I don't really do that anymore, but like even actually the thought though of having like one of those pink pearl erasers and like having a very sharp knife and just being able to slice through that eraser.
Oh,
it's that,
all of those like TikTok accounts that show like the hot knife and like cutting through soap. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But soap has like that waxy.
It's the feeling of cutting through the end and hearing that soft thud of the knife making it through to the bottom kind of thing. I used to always follow like Instagram that were like frozen. They'd like cut through frozen paint and like.
And then like the oozing out a little bit. Did you ever chew on Barbie dolls? On the feet?
Definitely.
You were a Barbie doll chewer, okay.
Yeah, I now that I guess I blocked that out of my memory. Yeah, probably when I was pretty young, I would probably just sit there and kind of like do a chew.
You like to chew on it. Okay. Honestly, this is like my brain is kind of exploding right now
piecing
a little
together
bit
these
because
like,
I'm thinking. So you're talking about biting off a pencil and you could chew on the Barbie doll
I
legs.
also still to this day like chewing my cuticles, and I'm trying to stop, but like
okay, the chewing.
I like even like, oh sorry, this is really gonna gross some people out. Trigger warning. I like if I peel like a piece of skin off the corner of my nail or something, I like
to like chew on it.
I like the like texture of like the skin. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like this, and that's how I feel about like erasers or like Barbie. It's like tough but soft at the same time.
Okay.
And that's kind of honestly what this aesthetic is. It's like hard and like shiny and soft.
Yes.
At once.
This is an interesting twist. You like to chew on it.
Yeah.
Now, when I was young, my best friend was a Barbie doll leg and foot chewer, like to a violent level, because her parents, very conservative home, did not let her have Barbies because of the nudity.
Sure.
So, oh God, my poor upbringing. But no, her parents wouldn't let her have it, but I had them.
Yeah.
So she would come over to my house, and if I left her alone for moments with my Barbie dolls, she would eat them like a goddamn corn on the cob. Those legs. I would come in and they would be just a mess, like raw meat.
I would chew on the hands too, actually. I wouldn't chew on like the legs. Those are like too thick and would probably hurt my jaw. It was more like the thin little
hands,
pieces that I could kind of like actually bite into.
Yeah, she did foot and leg. And when I tell you the level of rage that I had, and
and she must have been really like,
oh, she was going like I would leave and she would just chew on it intensely.
For me, it's very much like a casual, like as I'm doing something.
But I think that her violent chewing was because this was her only opportunity. So she knew she couldn't do it in front of me because I'd be like, what are you doing? Those are my Barbie dolls. So she would leave and it would be like a violent chew, but I would get so angry. And I knew how my parents operated. My parents are financial fixers. So if young Jessica is crying because my friend chewed my Barbie doll, like they would immediately get me the same doll. That's just how they were. So I wasn't like, I'm crying because now my Barbie's ruined and I won't have it. It was the fact that shiny rubbery thing
was ruined.
And I like couldn't see that. And now it's flooding back and I'm like, what is this?
Wow.
I sure don't know.
I don't know, but I like splitting. Like I used to also like little rubber bouncy balls. I would love to pick and try to pull them in half. And same with the pink pearl racers like I'm talking about. I would love to like bend them and watch it slowly like rip in half. And
when I see those rubber balls and they're broken, it gives me like anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, look at that rough part on the inside. But it's not like soft. It's like, oh man. I think the me wanting like double D's isn't because I want really necessarily huge boobs, because I want huge boobs.
Perfectly round, rubbery.
That it look like they might burst. Because
did you like watching Botched and seeing when people had like breasts that were about to burst?
Yeah. I like, for me it was like.
But did it bother you? Like, again, not making fun of anyone's appearance or anything, but when they had like big scarring or something, did that kind of like bother you because it was an interruption of this like...
But it wasn't even the breast because the nipple is almost an interruption.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't like it's like, I'm not like, oh, I'm like the breasts. Like,
right.
I liked them closed.
I understand what you're saying.
Because it was like, they're round and about to burst.
Do you feel that way about like butts sometimes? Like sometimes I see people with like perfectly round butts and it's just like
which is why I never make eye contact with my ass. He's a very flat ass. And as age hits and you're not a big workout person, it starts to get a little droopykins. And that is a little traumatizing because the fullness needs to be there. And not because I'm like, it looks hot. It's because it almost just, I don't know.
Did you ever like to like tie a rubber band around your finger so that your finger would like get the circulation cut off?
No.
And it would get...
No, because it's a blood thing, I think, for me. Because I'm realizing that it's like interrupting the blood. And I don't do well with it.
Interrupt the blood. Jeez.
Honestly, this is like there's problems going on, right?
Last thing though, what about those like squishy stress balls that have like water or squishy stuff in the middle that you have to squeeze and you have to be careful you don't pop it?
I used to have like a million of those.
Really?
Yeah, because I'd like to squeeze it and get it where it would get really shiny.
To the point where it would almost pop.
I'm now thinking about all the things that I loved and it was all that.
And it takes almost everything in me, even with my children now having them, to not want to just push it to the point of just bursting it. Or the ones that like, they have one of the ones that has all the little water balls in it.
Oh, yes.
That's amazing.
Oh, do
you love those water balls or do you love those water balls?
The water balls, what are they called? Like little,
I don't know. I don't know what they're called. I love them.
First of all, the feeling is incredible.
I wish they made them bigger.
Yes. And they do make some big ones. But those are unbelievable.
It takes everything in me as a child and now as an adult, if someone has one, to not grab it out of their hands. Like, for real. It's like I'm holding myself back from being like, just give me it. Give it to me. If I'm in a toy store, I have to pick it up and squeeze it.
1,000%. 1,000%. I just want to submerge my entire, what I want is to put my whole body in it.
Interesting. I just want to squeeze it within my palms.
Yeah, I want to be fully submerged.
I want to have like thousands and just be able to squeeze and ruin them one after the other. Just like, oh, that would be heaven. Is there some sort of stupid ass Tumblr word for this? Please send it to us. If there's some sort of fake made up word for this obsession.
Yeah, please let me know.
Gonna be like, that is
called such and such, because
it makes rubber ball philia.
It makes me happy to know that you also feel this way, because I feel odd saying it, because it sounds like especially when I'm talking about appearance too, like that I want a little bit of that because I like looking at that. Like, yeah, I think like when I'm aesthetically, like, I feel like, first of all, in general, and I know this sounds hokey, but it's true, I love seeing people choose what they want to do with their own bodies. So whether that's somebody decides to age completely naturally, ever hair dye, I'm like, it's so beautiful. Like, that choice that you've made with your body. Like, if someone decides to always have natural hair, dye their hair, cut it. Like, I just like people's aesthetic to them personally. But I need a little bit of that plastic thing, because it's just something that, like, it's just visually it does something for me. I
have a feeling that this is maybe a little, now after having this conversation, I have a feeling that this is maybe a little more universal
for real
than we might think.
Oh my God, that makes me feel so much less alone.
Well, I do, because
or weird.
Now, like, finding, and I'm trying to see if I can find any other accounts just off the cuff, but oh, you might like this. Anyway, I don't know. I just feel like if there's a bunch of people following those accounts, there must be a bunch of people who like this kind of thing. And if you, like you're saying, you know, there's this girl that you grew up with was the Barbie foot and leg chewer. It's like
big time. And
I would chew on their hands, their little hands. I can like see what it looks like to have their fingers have the indents.
The chewing on the hands didn't hurt me so much, because the hands were already interrupted because there were grooves for the fingers. The legs were not. There was no interruption. It was just shiny and hard and rubbery and streamlined. I understand. Thank you for resonating with this. So Botox.
How's life?
So broads, here's the thing. We were talking the other day, and we had this genius idea that we want to have like more podcast episodes where we just talk about what's been going on, because it's like so often I shouldn't even just say so often. Every week we're talking about Bachelor and observing other people, and not ever catching up about like what's actually going on like week to week in our lives. And sometimes I feel like I shouldn't say sometimes either, a lot of the times broads are sliding into the DMs being like, I saw you start to address this, like what happened with it? And I'm like, oh my God, maybe we should just start talking about what's been going on and talking about, you know, our private lives, and maybe we'll regret it.
Been there before. We'll probably be there again.
Probably, like, we're like, let's try this. And after one episode, we dump too much and we're like, we take it back. We're never talking about ourselves again. We're going just pure recap, never addressing anything personally about ourselves.
We've already gone too far. There's no going back now.
That's true. It's already all out there.
What's new with you though?
Is
your house still haunted?
You know, it just feels very on and off to me. That's the thing that's been hard for me then to even like give updates about it, because it's like when Craig and Sadie were here the other day, I felt like I was in the midst of like 2-3 weeks worth of like some heavy duty weird moments.
And then do you feel like you're going kind of crazy after they're gone? And then you're like, did that even really happen?
A little bit. And then I'm like, wow, you're embarrassing. There was nothing. There must have just been some weird, but I feel pretty confident because at least I have acknowledgement from Evan where he's like, I'm also feeling this way. Yeah. And he's my forever skeptic. So I'm like, okay, if he's feeling this way, then I feel like I'm not losing it. But then it'll just be like the past week, I haven't felt any feeling of someone being in the home. Nothing.
Does he feel it at the same time as you do, and vice versa, like not feeling it when you don't feel it?
Yes.
Okay, then that's...
And we won't bring it up to each other immediately either. It's always kind of like me, like a few weeks after it being like, so 2 weeks ago, did you? And he's like, oh my God, yeah. So it's corroborated, you know. But right now it just doesn't feel like the house is haunted.
Maybe he's on tour, the ghost.
I was like, he is. And thank God it doesn't feel haunted right now because Evan's been gone at nighttime and like been on a little jaunt here and there on a bus tour. And so I don't prefer to be alone with the ghost. Yeah. I also, 2 factors might be contributing to me not feeling the ghost because number 1, started smoking weed. Number 2,
big stoner over here.
Things are different.
But I come over last week and Jess is like such a pothead now. Jess is like, yeah, and I got these little ones, so cute, these joints. She goes, but these ones like don't even hit like at all. Like I do not feel these. Like, no, I mean, I like smoked a whole one.
Like,
I don't
honest
feel
to God,
anything.
Like, I know that I've talked about before that like I was super sensitive to weed, but like at the end of the day, honestly, I go really hard because I'll smoke this whole little baby joint and like I feel absolutely nothing.
My tolerance is so high.
Skyrocketed. I mean, where do I go from here?
And then I go in the bathroom and I'm like, I Googled like the type of joint and I was like, Jess, this is the CBD only strain. There's no THC in this.
I'm just like, I am so different now. Like for me, I feel like I see the world like we are one, you know, love and peace and joy, and I don't know what we're all fighting about. And like I am like
you have like 2 of the CBD joints in your mouth and you're just like, you know what's better though, honestly, Jess? You shouldn't actually be that embarrassed because you were like, I don't feel anything. You know what would have been embarrassing? It's been like, dude, these really hit hard. And they were like,
that's
just
very
CBD.
True.
Like,
oh my God. Can you imagine the ribbing? If I was just like, wow, I was just like
in another planet.
Like honest to God, like I saw God.
Like, bitch, there's no psychoactive properties in these. No, it's actually not that embarrassing that you didn't feel anything.
It weirded me out because I was like I had a couple different like vapes that I had been using. And then I'm like, I want to try like a little joint. And I'm like, it's so weird because with these vapes, I'm like, I'll feel it for sure. But this joint, I'm smoking the whole, like it's a little one, but I'm like, I'm smoking the whole thing and I feel nothing. I'm like, I wonder what that's about. Well, turns out just CBD.
You should try, there's this one my neighbor showed me that has like 7% THC. And like normally, you know, it's like anywhere from 20, sometimes even up to like 30% THC, but 7% is like really nice.
I see it. Listen, am I a new person now? Sure. But do I want to go heavy on the THC right now? Absolutely not, because I still am a little nervous about it after the one experience. So I'm like, I right now am just doing like a quick little puff, and that's all that I feel like.
Look, I've been smoking weed 10 years now, and I get extremely anxious still when smoking weed sometimes. And there are plenty of times every now and then where I'm like, I'm too high right now. And I don't want to be high, and I'm uncomfortable, and I have to do breathing exercises and whatever to get through it. It is what it is.
But wow, what a gift.
I know. I'm so happy for you that you're rediscovering.
Honestly, what a gift, you know, that God, that Mother Nature has given us.
This is like Jesus's herbal medicine, you know?
I've been bugging Evan lately because I'm really trying to lean into it to irritate him. Yeah. And so I just keep calling it, you know, flower.
Yes. That's
and he's
good.
Just like, please stop.
Bud. Flower. Herb.
I'm just like, you know.
Flower.
Mother Nature's flower. Like,
can we prank him, and can we like one day, like when he's on tour for like an extended period of time, can we redecorate your bedroom and do like Bob Marley One Love posters and do like dream catchers and like those like remember when we were talking about last time, those like fuzzy like color in posters that you get?
Spencer's posters, like just have crystals everywhere, lava lamps. I'll start wearing like, colored glasses all the time. You know what is really embarrassing though, is right before I started smoking pot, I bought
Tapestry on the
these
ceiling.
I bought these glasses that are like aviators that are yellow tinted that I've wanted for a long time, and I love them. But now when I wear them,
did you post a photo with them?
I had them on. Yeah.
Cute. So funny story, by the way, when Instagram was shut down, that photo was stuck at the top of my feed. So it was like hell. It was a nightmare where you were at the top of it. And every time I tried to refresh my feed, it was you in your little pose with your yellow sunglasses and your blue land ad. And I was like, God damn it. Trying to refresh over and over again. Just only seeing your blue land ad over and over.
And that's how you do an ad. Get it permanently on the top where you're like,
forget it.
Oh, buy it.
Oh, look at it again. Okay, I interrupted you. So you're saying
but
you bought those glasses.
I bought those glasses, and now, I love them. And now I feel like when I'm wearing them, like I'm being such a poser because it feels very like, because
you're like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas
exactly.
now.
And I bought them to wear them like throughout the day and night because like you can see through them really well. I didn't buy them for the sun. I bought them to wear like, an accessory.
Yeah.
But now I feel like a total poser when I'm out with them because I'm just like, like I'm screaming like I just started smoking pot for the first time in my entire life, and I'm almost 33.
I'm going to give you a tip. Don't say pot. You say pothead. Don't say smoking pot.
Smoking weed. The flower.
I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but in my experience, always when someone says, oh, like, do you smoke pot? I'm like, and you don't smoke pot.
Every time that I say any of them, whether I say...
Evan gets livid?
No. When I say pot, weed, anything, I feel super uncomfortable like I'm a grandma.
You're like cannabis.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm a principal at a school.
Marijuana.
When I say marijuana, when I
Devil's
say
lettuce.
pot, when I say all of them make me feel like a principal at a school, and I'm about to like rat people out.
Actually, I bet in other parts of the country it's different. But in Southern California, say weed. Just say weed. Okay. I smoke weed. I just started smoking weed.
Thank you so much for this tip.
Gotcha.
I'm really, this is new. I'm diving into it.
And then if you really want to be cool with like the in crowd, say like, I'm trying to think of something to it. Say like devil's lettuce, throw around some verbiage, say like that sticky icky, perp skirp.
Oh my God. I'm picturing myself
skunk.
Being at
You guys want to smoke some skunk?
I'm picturing myself going up, being at like the Saddle Ranch for a drink late night with all the fucking TikTokers there, and going up to like a group of like 17 and 18-year-old kids and being like, anybody got any devil's lettuce? With my yellow glasses.
Anybody got some of that sticky icky on deck? Huh? You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. Anyone got any herb around here? Tree? Yeah, say that. Start saying that, tree. Anyone want to smoke some tree? Oh my God. So creepy.
But yeah, life is new. I'm a new person. Things are different. I started smoking weed and Evan started therapy. So who are we?
Who are you?
We had done couples
therapy?
Yeah,
wow.
We had done couples therapy a bunch
great.
over
He
the years.
really needs it.
He really needs the therapy. But
I'm so happy for him.
We're like, oh my God, thank God.
For a while.
Thank God. No, he
Is it his first time?
with alone.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's loving it.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did you find How did you guys find a therapist?
I shouldn't say he's like, when I say his first time, like he's kind of tested the waters with like a couple people online, but it just hadn't been like a fit. Mm-hmm. When he was like, because he'll typically take like a call with someone beforehand before having like his first session, and it just hadn't ever been a fit. And then he, one of our dear friends who has like very similar upbringing to Evan, started to see this one therapist and recommended this guy to Evan. And Evan was like, okay, if he can connect, we're very similar. We had a similar upbringing. And so he started with this man and he's like obsessed with him.
I'll throw Grayston in there. Give me his number.
No, seriously. And he's like, I think he's like late 70s.
Great.
And Evan's like, he's the opposite of me. which I like, because Evan, per his and Grayston's precious conversation where Grayston was just like being a sage to him.
It was so
it was
cute.
like, it was so cute. I know, I was like, my heart is so warm. But he's like, Evan wants to be more open to spirituality, and due to like certain like emotional abuse that had gone on and everything, like, you know, he's very shut down to stuff. And so, understandably so. And so, this gentleman is extremely spiritual, and so he's like enjoying having someone very different be very warm and like give him like the hug that he needs.
I'm legitimately gonna get his info.
Yeah,
and,
get it from him.
Grace seen therapists in the past, but yeah, I think that he.
By the way, I have Evan's permission to talk about this.
Oh, good.
I'm not just like, hey, everybody, Evan started therapy. It'd be like, please don't say anything. No.
I think that I've had conversations with a couple girlfriends lately, and it seems like so many men really think that they are so special, and not saying this is Evan, so special and different that therapy just doesn't work for them. Mm-hmm. And like journaling and like self-reflection just doesn't work for them. Oh no, I don't know. Like doesn't do anything for me. Mm-mm. These men's, that Grayston being one of them. And I'm like, no, dude, you just got to find someone who's good fit for you, and you got to put in what you're going to get out.
Yeah, completely. And I think like, I know Evan for like, in recent years, he was like, yeah, I definitely should. And then it just never wouldn't happen.
Yeah. It was like that for us with couples therapy too. Of like,
right, where you're like, yeah, no, we should, do it. But then you just kind of put it off and just isn't
every
a priority.
time you're in a bad place, you're like, we should do that. And then when you're in a good place, you're like, it's whatever.
Okay, broads, one more quick pause. Listen, when it comes to cooking, or actually life really, but especially cooking, my motto is work smarter, not harder. And as the weather cools down, I'm craving warm, hearty meals. But if anything, life in the fall only picks up the pace, which means the ideal solution for my family is something that can give us hearty, wholesome meals while also fitting into our ever-changing schedule, and that fits our budget. We've been loving HelloFresh because it ticks all those boxes.
Love HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you'll get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep, which makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. It's America's #1 meal kit for good reason. And there's a chance you're semi-familiar with a meal kit service. But if you've never used one before, here is how easy it is. Each week, you will get to choose from over 50 different menu and market items that include vegetarian and gourmet options. And after you've made your selection, HelloFresh will send you the ingredients and easy-to-follow instructions to your door.
And all of those ingredients are pre-portioned and partially prepared. Not only does that mean you can explore so many new recipes that you might not normally have the ingredients for, but if you have little ones that insist on helping in the kitchen like I do, you can let them help worry-free because the chopping and measuring are done ahead of time. It's been such a fun bonding experience for the family. My daughter even helps us pick out the recipes from the HelloFresh menu each week, now based on what she wants to learn how to cook. We got a little chef because of HelloFresh.
Go to hellofresh.com/14chatty and use 14chatty for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. What a frickin' deal. That's hellofresh.com/14chatty and use code 14chatty for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping.
So broads, finding time to let your mind wander and truly escape the craziness of your day-to-day life can be so difficult. But when you get those moments to unwind, they are oh so good for the soul. If you struggle to find some time for yourself, you have to check out DIPSEA, the audio app full of short, sexy stories designed to turn you on.
DIPSEA. Dude, I love DIPSEA. Never gets old. DIPSEA has a library full of immersive, sexy stories that are told from the perspective of the characters in a way that really makes you feel like you're in on the action. This is quality audio, erotic theater, people. Let me tell you, there's nothing corny about DIPSEA at all. There are different stories for whatever you're into, whether it's about hooking up with your hometown crush or finally making a move on your coworker. Whatever you're into, there's a story for you in the DIPSEA library.
And if you're looking for a different way to unwind and relax, be sure to check out all of DIPSEA's other awesome content, like their wellness sessions, their sensual bedtime stories, which are amazing, and their soundscapes. The team at DIPSEA releases new content each week, so there's always so much more to explore. I like listening to the soundscapes or the sensual bedtime stories before bed, and I swear, I wake up feeling so much more rested.
For listeners of the show, DIPSEA is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/chatty. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipsea.com/chatty. It's like a dip in the sea. dipseastories.com/chatty. dipseastories.com/chatty. 30 days for free.
But beforehand, Evan was always very much like, in this spot where he's like, no, I need to learn how to figure it out myself. Like, he'd be like, I'm not doing a good enough job figuring myself out on my own. So he realized that that's just not true. And so the therapy. And so now we're just like, well, you're in therapy. I'm smoking weed. Nothing's getting done.
Have you done any like spiritual type stuff on your own, like while being high yet? Have you like done any of that?
You know, I will say this. I don't think I've gotten high enough at that spot. Like, I've been smoking weed purely to deal with pain issues. And so I was just trying to get rid of the pain, which didn't take a lot for me. And then the benefit that I've been reaping is like helping my anxiety so much. And I'm just like, I know this is not groundbreaking. I know so many people smoke weed because of it helps with anxiety and all of that. But I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't think this was going to be that helpful for me. But I haven't gotten like high enough where I'm like, oh my God, like, which I want to get comfortable to be at that point. I'm just like slowly making my way because I can feel it coming. I can feel it coming because I sit without intending to. I'm like meditating.
Yeah. And I don't think you have to get like
still.
high. I think that, and it's really interesting because actually a lot of times weed for both anxiety and pain for me actually really makes me hyper focus on my anxiety or pain.
Okay.
For me personally, for whatever reason, it's just not very effective for that.
Yeah.
It's whatever. But like if I have like a really bad headache, sometimes I'll end up like really like fixating on like my head pain, and I've tried different strains and stuff, and same with my sometimes I'll start like fixating on that. But weed can be like such a great distraction on the other hand, where like even if I'm not super high, I used to always smoke a little bit of weed when I was in college to like read, to do assigned reading and stuff like that, because it would really help me like focus. Maybe it helps my ADHD. It would really help me focus and like really get immersed and make new connections that I wasn't able to make before.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So that's kind of fun to explore, even if you're not getting high, just like journaling, train of thought or stream of thought, writing.
I should start doing that because yeah, like I said, it's automatically I feel like I just kind of sit still and I'm just calm, like way more calm. So it allows me to kind of like take a beat and pause and like think about like one thing at a time instead of like mind racing, you know, just busy. Need like, you know, I'm very much wired like I need a podcast on in the background 24/7 or a TV show because it's almost like doling out all the other busyness in my head. It helps me focus on something. And now I'm like, oh, I haven't been having anything on in the background lately. It's just been still when I'm like working or like cleaning. And all of a sudden I'll realize I'm like, oh my God, I just cleaned the house and I didn't have music on or a podcast on. And I was just like cleaning the house. Like that's weird for me. So that's felt a little like meditative, I think, but it's fantastic.
Good.
God bless. So that's what I was saying. Okay. So I think maybe I haven't been noticing the haunting so much because of the weed. And so I've been a little less like hyper aware.
I think it would be the opposite.
I guess if it's spiritual, huh?
I mean, in my experience, but everyone's different though. Everyone is different. And like, it sounds like, you know, the way our anxiety and all those things are so different. Maybe weed to me is very like, can be very hyper spiritual sometimes, where I'm like where it's verging on paranoia, where I'm going in somewhere, I'm like, the vibes are off, like.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, I feel like it's
like
just
numbing.
kind of numbing and putting like a little bit of a blanket on me and just being like, fucking chill out.
I wonder if also you are using like one specific type of weed with specific type of terpenes in it and all that sort of thing.
Also a high possibility. Once I start to dabble, I might have a little bit of a different experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, give me what you're having, girl. It sounds great.
It's been fantastic. But so that's been distracting me specifically, that throughout the day, but specifically then at nighttime. I've also been distracted this past week and not really listening to any like outside, movement or noises because I have been watching Squid Game. So that.
Dude, we haven't started it yet. We're trying to get through. Did you ever watch Sex Education?
I didn't.
Oh my God, I heard
only phenomenal things about it.
I love it. So we're slowly making our way through season 3 right now, but
I need to start. I'll start watching that.
Really, I think you'll really like it.
I need to start watching that. Squid Game, obviously everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit wired in the way that I'm like, I'll get to it. If people really like it,
I feel that way too.
Get to it.
Especially if you're busy and you're just like, it's the hype. I don't want to watch it because of the hype.
Yeah, I'm just like, I probably won't like it. But
I have a feeling I'll love it.
You, with the way like, your art brain then dives into like the symbolism behind everything. This show will blow your mind.
Well, it reminds me a lot of Snowpiercer and The Platform that I just saw in the previews.
Yes, it's very, very similar to both of those. Specifically, like the energy of it, and
also this is commentary on like economic inequality.
Also, like in similar ways, the visuals, dude, are stunning, but also like horrifying, same way as both of those other movies are. Also maybe some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life, like unreal. Found a few of my new favorite actors, but the show, like, you're not going to bed. That's the only problem. It's like I've been up watching it until much later than I've intended to.
Just in the like 30 seconds that I've seen on the clip, am I right in that it's sort of like a sci-fi psychological thriller commentating on like classism and the human condition?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think I'll love it.
Yeah, there's
like
also
dystopian world. Yeah,
there's also I think a lot of narratives in it about like capitalism. Yeah, it's wild. It's really wild. And it's one of the shows too where like I feel like I'm always pretty good at calling what's going to happen next. And the way that they kind of set it up that you're like, oh, I think I know what's going to happen, and they add things and you're constantly like, oh my God. But it's not for the faint of heart. It's very intense. It's again similar to The Platform where you're like, this was hard to watch, but also incredible to watch. Like it's violent, and it's intense, but wow. Unbelievable.
Did you watch White Lotus?
Yes.
Do you feel with the bubbly thing about Jennifer Coolidge's mouth the way I do?
Absolutely. Obsessed with looking at her.
And I love the way like her mouth is sort of like uneven and she has one part of her lip that's sort of frozen upwards.
And then
like
her
the way
cheek
that
filler that's like squeezing into her eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm obsessed. I love it so much.
And I love the way she moves her lips when she talks, and one, like I said, is kind of frozen upward, and I love it.
I would just pray for her to be on screen every second because I just wanted to look at her.
Yeah, I love her.
I wish that
I like the way she looks too.
Like I always wished in movies that she was main character energy, and they always have her be like a fun side character. And I'm like, no, I need to look at her more.
She kind of had a pretty front row seat for
White Lotus.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of her biggest, like, she was on screen often. That was an incredible show too.
I liked that show because I felt like I liked the people I wasn't supposed to like, and I like disliked some of the people I was supposed to like.
Yeah, same.
Like Gray and I were oddly rooting for the asshole husband. Like,
oh,
like a strange amount of time.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. I can't relate that one. That my body hurt.
We were like, okay, not in his relationship with his wife, but we were like, is he supposed to look like an ass the way he's handling this? Because my guy is getting shafted by the hotel that he paid for the honeymoon suite in.
Oh,
what
man.
the fuck? If some concierge, we were pissed about that. We did not like what's his face.
The manager.
No. We're like, what? This guy's just gonna lie and not own up to the fact that he
Should we put a spoiler alert?
Nah, I didn't spoil anything.
Okay.
It's like in the first episode of the
first
show
few
that
minutes of
he
it.
fucked it up, and he's not gonna own up to that, and is just gonna hate on them because that guy's asking for what he paid for.
Oh my god, I hated him. I hated that guy so much, though. I hated him so much. He was like a giant trigger to me. Like it. Oh man, my whole body.
I know. I kind of liked him.
I didn't hate as many characters as I thought I was going to hate. I'll say that.
We could not. We could also. I feel like all these are going to be controversial opinions. We also could not stand the daughter's friend. We're like, this is the most selfish biddy I've ever seen.
Oh, I couldn't. It was terrible. I couldn't stand her either. So selfish. So selfish. What ended up? Yeah. No. So selfish. Sorry, broads. I really don't want to spoil anything because it is a really great show.
Yeah.
I do want to say this though.
Oh, God, I'm obsessed with Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn.
Is it Zahn? Is that how you say
I
it?
think so. Steve Zahn. We also, we are That Thing You Do stans, and he is such.
I love him in every movie I've ever seen him in.
He's
Did you
so
ever watch
hot.
Sahara?
But of
yeah,
course,
he's in Sahara,
I would
right?
watch. I would find anytime he'd be a movie, I would watch it intentionally because it's such a crush on him.
Yeah, because he's the funny, like
He's funny and hot, and I love
he's
him
like
so
the guy,
much.
the side character in National Treasure, the really cute, funny
Justin
one.
Bartha. Yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way about him.
Yeah. Completely.
He's the guy. They're the guy next door. Mm-hmm. There's a girl next door. They're the guys next door.
Where I'm always like, why isn't the main character falling in love with this character? Right. I don't understand at all. I would be so on his side of the situation.
Anyway, what were we gonna say?
Oh, the only thing that I had a little bit of a beef with is that I mean, you might disagree with me on this one, but I heard before I started to watch it, everyone presented it to me and they're like, you're going to be rolling on the ground laughing.
Grant and I were dying.
I was not.
Did you watch it with anyone?
I watched it with Evan.
Okay.
There were a few characters.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty much only laughing at Jennifer Coolidge.
That was Jennifer Coolidge made me laugh.
Who else would we be laughing at?
I felt like
who else were we supposed to be laughing at?
I felt like Steve Zahn had some funny moments in it. But
like
like to break up tension.
Yeah.
But it was presented to me like it was going to be a comedy like Best in Show style where like you're dying at every character. And so I watched the first episode, and after the first episode, we didn't start watching it again for like a couple weeks because I was like, I feel confused. Just because it threw me off that I was expecting it to be like this like laugh out loud, hilarious, but like beautifully shot movie. And then I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. Am I missing something? And then when we started to watch it again, I was like, this is fantastic. But I just have to not look at it like as like this dying. I don't know. I don't know. Like, am I?
No, the only really funny person was Jennifer Coolidge. And Gray and I would, every time she was on screen, we would look at each other and be like,
dude, the scene
really
with her, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but the scene with her on the boat.
Oh my God. Yeah, that we were laughing pretty hard.
I was crying laughing at that part.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was unbelievable.
Now, one thing I will say about sex education that I really like in particular, and maybe part of my critique with, one thing I'm really big on right now is like everyone has a reason for why they are the way they are. And while it's not an excuse for being shitty, if we can like look at what, where someone's coming from, what's going on in their head, at least maybe we can have a little bit of like compassion while still being like, you're being an asshole and you need to own up to it. But we're all humans, right? That have all been like little babies and little children and all that kind of thing with a lot of complexity in our lives. Mm-hmm. And some of us outwardly present as much more shitty to people than others. But what I love in sex education is that in that show, you are constantly being whiplashed in like, you will be like, I fuck this character. and then it's showing you what's going on in their home and their childhood, whatever, and you're like, oh fuck, well, yeah, now I can see why they're like being an asshole in this situation, or I could see why they're triggered in this. And over the 3 seasons, I feel like it has given so much depth of all these different characters that are simultaneously like likable and unlikable, and they're all very like messy and lovable at the same time. I think overall,
I love that. I'm totally into that. I mean, I love, that's one of my favorite things that when shows do that. Like I remember Orange is the New Black did that, where it was like, I love shows where you're like in present time and then you go back to a specific character and like you get to see like why they are the way that they are.
Also, I've never simultaneously cared about so many characters at once as I am in Sex Education. I'm like very invested in so many different storylines of people. It's such a great show.
I like that. I gotta watch that. Like I said, I've heard 1 million good things about it, but yeah. So Squid Game, and so I'm staying up literally constantly.
Oh, and you know what's so funny? Like how you brought up when you just brought up briefly when Craig and why can't I think of it? Sadie. Craig and Sadie, I love the name Sadie.
I know, so cute. Craig
and Sadie were here. It's so crazy. So after that, and I was just listening to the last week's Bros episode this morning. After that episode, I was like, you know what? I've never bought a tarot deck. I should go get a tarot deck. It always seemed like, and it still is like, it's like a lot. It's like too much. Like there's like almost 80 cards and they all have complex meanings.
That's when Evan bought me that deck for Christmas like a couple years ago. I was like, oh my God, I love this. And I had every intention to get into it. But then I was like, this is a lot of work.
This is like homework, right? Like
there's a reason people get paid to read your tarot and like they already have their own.
Like, a lot of personal investment and time. But anyway, so I got it and I brought it home. And it's so funny because Evan was like, oh, is this Bekah's idea with the tarot deck? And what's crazy is I brought it home and I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. And he literally like sat down and was like, what is this? And like, I want to try it. Like, I want to do my card of the day, whatever. Like, I want to look up my meaning. And the next night was like, so do what we want to do. And when we were in Mexico, every single night it was like, so when the kids went to bed, he was like, are you going to do like our tarot card of the day?
Were you obsessed?
I was like,
were you so turned on?
No, I was just like, wait, it was really cool. I was like, this feels like an answer to the universe's prayer of like, it has now been a way of us being able to like just connect at the end of the day and be like, oh, like how does this have significance for you? It's not even like the spirituality. It's just a way to connect and be like, how does this have meaning in your life? And like, what are you taking from this? And it gives you a channel to open up. And I think for people, it's so many different things, whether it's like prayer or journaling or meditation or working out together or whatever it is. But it was so interesting because Gray was just like, oh, I really like this. And and now he loves doing it. And so actually we haven't done the last few nights, but anyway.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was so cool that it really resonated with him. And now he like really likes it. And his parents came and he was like, we got to do like your card of the day.
Oh my God.
And like Google the meaning on my phone.
That's so
like,
fun.
Yeah. And
That's
he brought it to do with Evan.
I know. When I was listening to the episode, I was just like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I was like, great, keep doing this for him, please.
I mean, he like found his little thing that kind of resonates with him, which is really cool. And it's sort of an encouragement like, oh, maybe Evan needs to find his thing, his spiritual thing.
You know what? I think that's really what it is right now. I think that like, I don't know, we're also like at this turning point, him and I, where we had like such a huge shift from where we used to be with like family and the church and all of that. And that was really hard. Yeah. And he's finally in a place now where, you know, he's able to acknowledge that he was really hurt and that there was a lot of damage and there was a lot of trauma. And he's so wired in this way to, again, like I said, just kind of be like, oh no, like I just need to figure out how to deal with it. And, you know, it's an excuse if I bring, and I'm like, Evan, you know, and he's at this point now where he's starting to, I think, love himself, allow himself to start to love himself and like care for himself and heal himself. And so the idea of him, like, he's always been someone who has been like deeply internally emotional and has a lot of questions about the universe. But because the spirituality that we had was like forced upon us, I'm like, I feel like it would be so good for him to find his own spirituality. And his therapist even, he was telling me his therapist even brought that up because he was talking about spirituality to him and talking about like his conversation with Gray and everything. And his therapist was like, that's the key word, like your own.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you were taught spirituality could only be like, you know, one way in one form, and anything outside of that form was evil and wrong. He's like, now you need to find your own. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's so cool that then Gray's found this connection to that in his way that works for him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. What if they just end up
being tarot kings?
Chatty Bros becomes a tarot only podcast. Like they're only doing tarot and they're only doing spells.
That would be amazing.
I would be obsessed.
Now, yeah, I mean, I think what you said though is so true, and I think like I think that so many men don't and aren't encouraged to like love themselves. I think I think that for men, something that's very like that's uniquely like a patriarchal thing for men in the world is that their like worth is really defined by their success.
Yeah.
By their financial success, by this role of provider, by this, you know, what can I bring to the table? Am I enough? Like, it's interesting, I think, with women, the way, at least like traditionally, female roles in the world have been like, am I enough? Like, am I beautiful enough? Like, it's like very much like our worth tied to like our presentation and like femininity, and the masculinity is much more like, I don't know, like your intrinsic value of like, are you a good businessman? Can you make money? Can you make things?
Am I financially worth enough?
Yeah. And like, can I make things happen? If I can't make things happen, then like I'm a failure and like I'm not worthy, you know, and I'm not worthy of loving myself. And like, that's all bullshit anyway, you know? It's not about how much I love myself. It's about what I can bring to the table.
Completely.
And you know, that's just bullshit. And also it's just how it is for women, you know. And I know I'm using very binary terms, but I think that obviously we live in a very binary world. And for women, it's like, we'll never be beautiful enough, right? It's like no matter how much we get our nails done or our lashes or, you know, whatever that we're told is feminine, it's never enough. And I think it's the same with men. It's like, that's why so many men, it's like that traditional workaholic archetype. It's like, you're never going to be enough. And I could speak from experience in the past couple of years with career stuff. The minute you hit a threshold that you always were aspiring to, the cliches are true. The minute it's the next threshold, you know, and it's never enough.
No, it's so true. It's so wild how that, like you were just talking about, like this binary world that we live in, like that binds us so hard. Like I'm thinking about even like Evan's conversations with Gray when I'll listen back to the podcast. Like it's so funny because I feel like Gray's so good for him to have conversations with, because Evan, when he was like a really little kid, was like, all he ever did was dress up and play pretend. He was always like in a Superman costume, or like, you know, he was like dressed up with like one glove, like a rock star. He wanted to always do that and was always dressing up, but that was kind of pushed out of him.
Someone along the way told him that was stupid.
Yes, it was very much like family pushed the narrative of like, you logically do what you need to do, which is like you get a 9 to 5, you do this. Like that's all imagination. It's not real. Why would you even want to engage in something that's not a reality? And really crush creativity.
Dumb,
But that's so how he is, in that organically. But it got really like, you know. And I was even like, again, just like narratives that we have to fall in line. Like I've been struggling so hard recently with the idea of like being like a good enough mom. And I think a lot of it has to do with like this narrative that's pushed, you know, of like, this is what a mom looks like. And I talk this game sometimes, I think, on the podcast where it's like, oh, you know, yes, there's this narrative of like what a mom should look like, but like, fuck that. And but it doesn't mean that it's not still this like internal battle of like, I've been really struggling lately with knowing how to be a good mom to Ember. And Ember's just like a really unique kid. And I've talked about stuff before in the past, I think on another podcast, and I've had growth, change of heart, or I shouldn't say change of heart, education, that I don't, feel comfortable sharing personal things about Ember's being until like that's her story to share if she ever decides to. But, there have been a lot of challenges, and I think there's this like narrative in my head that sometimes like I see this like culture's like picture of like how a mom should be raising her kid or focusing on their child. And I'm like, that's not what I do. And I'm now really struggling knowing how to be a good mom to Ember. And is it because I'm not this? And if I was that, and if I would have been this like traditional mom figure to my daughter for like the past few years, like would it be different for her? You know what I mean? And so it's just crazy, just like fighting that shit all the time.
And also, of course, I struggle with this. I struggle with it sometimes where I am feeling not enough. And then I'm like, at Gray, it's like, wait, you never even think for a moment, are you a good dad or not, right? It's like
No,
dads don't sit around being like, am I just, I mean, unless you're like really like, an absent father. But most dads who like come home every night and play with their kids for like 30 minutes or whatever, they don't sit around thinking, am I a good dad?
No. They're just like, no, I'm here. We're playing. I'm a good parent. It's just crazy. It's
what makes you feel like you're being a good mom? Like, do you have moments where you're like, ooh, today I was a good mom?
Yeah, I do. I think
what makes you feel that?
If I'm being honest at this exact moment, which isn't, I think, the healthy thing, I feel like a good mom when like Ember has a good day. Oh. Which is not good because it's contingent on someone else's mood. And I can't control how she's feeling. So I can, do my best. But like if she has a rough day, like it's not because I was a bad mom. But right now I think maybe that's where it's a problem. Yeah. I don't know what happened. What shift happened. Maybe it's me realizing that she's getting older and like feeling very like reminiscent on like her when she was young, and then some certain struggles that she's having that I'm like, oh, she seemed so much more like less stressed and anxious about certain things. And maybe that's because I was around more. Or I was more patient. But I used to just feel like a really good mom when I'd feel like I was just letting her be who she is. And because, that was, I think, something we all experienced growing up, where it's like, a lot of our parents placed a certain narrative on like how we should be. Yeah. So I'm like, I really try to make a concentrated effort to just let her be her.
I think you're so good at that too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But,
and then you can tell that she's so confident in who she is too. And that speaks volumes to her parents, because it's like you see kids that do not feel confident in being themselves, whoever you can see it.
Yeah. Oh no. And I appreciate that. Yeah. No, she's a confident kid. That's for sure. That's not, so that's so good. And thank you. It's a good reminder. Yeah. It's always, I think it's just always an ever moving thing, again, because like we're fighting against culturally kind of, even if it's, we're fighting against culturally like the narrative that's been placed on us of like how it should look. And, I think when family around you continues to push that narrative, then and you feel from like the outside from family that you're not doing a good job,
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then when you have when your kid is struggling, it's like, oh my God, like
this is a reflection of me.
It's a reflection of me, and maybe they were all right, and maybe I should have been, you know, A, B, and C.
Right. Yeah.
So you're just like,
well, I feel you. What were you saying though? I kind of interrupted you. You were saying like, I don't know if it's, you know, when she was younger, you were saying something like that.
Oh, like why all of a sudden I had like a shift. Like I think I had a shift. Yeah, I'm saying I don't know if it was like because it's just like an age thing. So like there's different conversations now happening that she's older versus when she was younger. It was, you know, when I was, you know, until she was about 2.5, like I was with her at home full time, you know, and now it's like, oh, you know, she's in school or I'm working or whatever, that like I'm like, oh, I'm not spending as much time with her, and she's an only child, and there's new struggles that are coming up as she's getting older, and like I said, other things that I don't, you know, that will be her story to share if she decides to one day, but you know, I think they're just becoming more clear as age happens. So I think instead of realizing that that's just age, and so new complexities come with that my brain goes, it's because you were around more. Oh, yeah. It's because you maybe like, and again, I don't know if I was or not. Maybe I was, but it's like my brain goes, you were more patient back then. You sat down and played with her more often. You were more gentle. You heard her out more. Like my brain kind of convinces myself of that a little bit instead of realizing like, no, you weren't having the type of conversations you're having with her now because she couldn't communicate the way she does now. Right? Like when she was 2.
She's very limited in her ability. Yeah.
When she was 2, like she didn't have like the capability to come to you and to say something that needed to have that we need to have a conversation about. Yeah. You know? When she was 2, she didn't have the ability to fake sick at school to come home every day. Yeah. That little stinker. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely like, it's just like that constant self-talk of like, this is your past. This is like culture trying to just like get into that narrative in your brain. Yeah. And you gotta.
How do you sort through what's valid and what's not?
Not very well.
Because I've been really struggling with that too, where I'm like,
in what way?
Well, I guess that's the struggle of life, right? It's like, where is this like a valid thing that's popping up in my head going like, but maybe you should put more of a concerted effort in this specific area. And what is just fear talking, you know, of like, you know? Yeah. That is kind of life, I guess.
I guess it is.
But I have that, you know, just with parenting stuff sometimes too. And it's like, you know, there's always, it's that sifting where it's like, yeah, I don't know, where it's like, you are not being a good enough parent. And it's like, well, okay. Like, that's a lie. And then maybe also I need to put my phone in a drawer for an hour and maybe even just get high and like play in the backyard. Yeah. And be totally present, even if it's just for 1 hour in these 3 days. And I think the hard, I don't know. And
it's like this crazy journey, right? Because that's a lot of times what I'm processing, where I'm like, I know I'm beating myself up about something that's not real, but at the same time, could I be better? And also, would this be better?
And sometimes that's what that's the hard thing to make peace with too sometimes too, right? Is like, sometimes I guess some afternoons, this is what's been really hard for me, is like, sometimes some afternoons I'm not going to be a very present parent.
Sure.
And I might actually be kind of like not a great parent. Yeah. Relative to everything. I'm not being my best.
Right.
I'm not, but there's always also tomorrow or this weekend, and like, and not in the terms of like, oh, taking time for granted, but also like,
but
Yeah,
also
life.
being gracious to yourself.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah, I think it's like been just the inherent question lately. Like Evan and I, in our home, like Evan and I were sitting the other night, just like having a full like breakdown about like what is worth, you know, what is the important. We were having a very like existential, like how short life can be and is, and we were like, what should be our focus? And then when you're like our child, then it's like, okay, then we want to be able to provide, but like how much do they need? Like there is this level of like, what's the balance of providing and then being there, and what's the balance of discipline and, you know, just love. I mean, you can do both, but it's just kind of like where does it land?
Yeah.
Like there's this big, so it's just like, I don't know. I'm not sure what the right answer is. We were going back and forth about it for hours. Just like what direction should we focus our life in? Like, I think it's one of the first times we've ever had a conversation about like, where should we be in 5 years? And I think it's been hitting more because of all of a sudden being like, oh my God, Ember is in kindergarten now.
Yeah.
And in 5 years, she'll be in 4th grade. And like, we have to think about what school she's at and all that. And then you're like, oh my God, she's already going to be in 4th grade in 5 years. Like, and we're going to be like, you know, like 38. Like, we're going to be almost 40. What direct, you know, and you're just then kind of like, okay, should we focus on trying to work harder to get this, or should we enjoy the time more that we have while Ember's young? Like that's been the big like existential crisis in our home lately.
Yeah.
And I think that then is spurring on these feelings, or they're both, you know, actively happening, where you're kind of like, am I being good enough? And instead of at the end of the day, I think it is important to acknowledge both what you're saying, that both can be true. But at the end of the day, being like, I mean, I know all of us, and I know we're all just trying to do our best and figure out what in the hell this like world is in our time here, you know?
Mm-hmm. How to make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that was intense. Sorry to take it there.
I think that's like, I think most mothers struggle with that for sure. And yeah, I don't know. That's just hard.
Yeah.
Did you not used to feel like that when she was like, did you feel that way when she was younger?
Never.
Really?
Mm-mm. Shouldn't say never. I had days. Never once in my whole life. No, but I felt yeah,
I'm really actually curious about this. How did you feel before?
You know what it was? I was really scared because I never like I didn't know if I wanted to be a parent,
Yes.
and I'm not naturally like a traditional mom role. I'm not; those aren't my skill sets, and that's not like who I am. So I was very
you mean like cooking?
Yeah, the cooking, like, you know, I mean, I guess like crafting, the organization of it, like, you know, the oh my God, like when I'd see other parents be like, oh, I planned my kid's day and we did this and look at much. I'm so not that way that I'm like, oh my God, like this is going to be just not, you know, me. And so I was really scared of that before I got pregnant. And then when I was pregnant, I was nervous about that. I remember probably the first 6 weeks after Ember was born, I was struggling where I'd like looking at her and I was like, I don't feel like I'm connecting, and that whole panic because I'm like, I feel like I'm taking care of this precious little being, but like, who are you? Like, you know, this whole thing. And then after like the first 2 months, when things kind of started to get a little like the flow got a little easier, I felt very confident in like mine and Ember's relationship. It wasn't like I feel like I'm a good mom, but I never like I didn't very often feel like, wow, like I feel like I'm not being a good parent to her, because it was just kind of like, oh, I see you, like we get each other.
Do you ever feel like now like you feel like a bad mom because you're feeling like you know her less and less as she gets older?
Maybe. It's interesting. Maybe.
Sometimes I just feel flashes of that with Ruth where I'm like, I don't.
And she's getting older.
Like, whoa, I don't know what's going on in here.
When you
like,
post her, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
she is going at like lightning speed right now, where suddenly, like this morning, she was like, you cannot drive daddy's truck to work. You have to drive, talking to me like this, you have to drive your car. Daddy will get in his truck and move his truck, and you have to drive your
You're just like,
car to work. Bye, mommy.
and you're just like, oh
what
my
the
God.
fuck is happening here? And, you know, it's like...
that definitely might be.
I mean, and not that that's all of it, but I wonder if sometimes you feel like you're like you're saying, I thought we were so on the same page, and now I feel like we're not on the same page.
You know what? Honestly, that might be a huge part of it. I know there's a big chunk of it. I'm like I said, the stuff that I don't like, I can't get into because that's her own. That like I'm like trying to figure out, and I'm like I don't know how quite to do that. But definitely that. I like when I'll drop her off at school now. It's like big girl drop off. They like, you know, they open the door and she hops out, you know, on the side and walks in by herself, and there's no like me taking her to class, and like she's kind of just like bye and like hops out, and I'm like
bitch.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit like, you know, but I'm like, oh, it's exciting, look at her, she's being so independent and whatever. But then there'll be conversations at home now that I'm just like, well, yeah, what did you say? And like and she's been telling me a lot lately too that I'm frustrating her. And I was kind of always the saint in the house, I guess, when it came to Ember. Like with Ember, it was always just like pure adoration from her. So maybe that's part of what it is too, that I'm like, what am I doing wrong now where you feel so frustrated at me and I don't know what I'm doing to frustrate you? Because she's trying to explain what it is. And then when you're like, oh, I'm really trying right now, and you're getting so frustrated at me.
May I offer something?
Please.
I wonder if part of it is in the trying. And I wonder if in like small amounts of time with Ember, if you could do things with her. You remember how you said earlier too, it's a good day when Ember's happy?
Yeah.
Maybe you could try doing more things with her that you're really excited about and hyped about. Like not actually worrying if Ember's going to enjoy it, but be like, Ember, like, this is something that I love and I want to share it with you.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm hyped about because I was just thinking as you were saying all this, I read some book or something that said like, your kid, even at a really young age, knows when you're faking it. When you're doing the like, that was a great job. And I wonder if maybe sometimes you're like, you know, I don't know, maybe you're not doing things that are fun for you with her. And maybe you need to do some things that are fun for you and share that with her.
That's very good insight. Yeah, because it's like oh man, she'll fight me. I'll say this, my child is relentless.
Yeah.
Like she is gonna move and shake some shit older in life because when she wants something, she will relentlessly pursue it. And so if she wants to do something or she wants to eat something or she doesn't want to go somewhere, she will not stop talking about it to the point where it's almost
she will wear you down.
No, she will wear you down. Like, and I'm not talking about where she doesn't throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah, it's the slow.
No, she literally just will for an entire full day be like, I just don't understand why you won't let me go to why you won't let me go to the movie theater, or even just something like, I just don't understand why you won't let me have a cookie. Like I had a cookie yesterday and like I don't know why you didn't say anything and I really want one and I feel like I would feel so much better if I had a cookie and I just don't understand and I'm only gonna have half of it and like it won't stop for hours. And I'm not, this is not an exaggeration, where you're finally like, take it. It's just a cookie. Fine. And so I think a lot of times for maybe my ease, I'll be like, I'll do what Ember feels like doing. Because if I'm like, I want to go here today or like, we're going to do this, she'll be like, oh, I really don't want to. It's like, Dude, like when all of a sudden we're like, we're gonna go to the beach today. She'd be like, don't want to go to the beach. I really don't want to go to the beach. I'm not gonna go to the beach. And so then what she'll do is then on our drive to the beach, she'll be talking about like, oh my goodness, like I have a callus on my toe, and when I walk on the beach, it's gonna hurt so bad. And and then we get to the beach, and she's like, my foot, and she's like, I told you my callus, and I don't want to be here. I don't. And she's all these reasons why. And so then we're like, I guess we won't go to the beach again
because we don't want to ruin our lives for 4 hours.
But when we do push through, and it's tough, we end up having a good time, and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
But I think then I think you're right. It probably is frustrating for her when I'm like, that's great, honey. Or like, yeah, sure, let's go. Okay, fine, we'll do that. Okay, fine, sure. Okay, yeah, okay, sure. That's not helpful for her. That's just me trying to like keep my head above water because I'm like, you're making me insane.
And then she's like, oh, now mom's being bad vibes because I manipulated her into doing what I wanted. Now I don't like, now I'm sensing her attitude and now it's not fun for me and she's frustrating me.
Totally. She's like, you're a huge bummer and you're really frustrating.
Oh my God.
Just like, oh my God. When we, by the way, we posted that Splash Mountain photo of her, Bekah, she insisted on this ride, right? And I knew she was going to get wet. Yeah. And I know my daughter, and my daughter has like a phobia of being in wet clothes that should be dry in her mind. And so I was like, we shouldn't go on this ride. We should not be going on Splash Mountain. When you spill a little bit of water on your dress.
Oh, yeah.
When she spills a little bit of water on her dress when she's drinking.
Yeah.
It's a problem. We're going back and changing. Yeah. And she will not, she will not let it go.
God, I hope Ruth grows out of that. She's totally been into that too right now. It's like, get it all. Like that.
I'm just like, it's okay. It's gonna dry. It's okay. Like, I'm like, and then I'm like, I'm like, I'm not trying to like
stripping down in the
devalue something that bothers you, but like sometimes you're gonna get wet.
It's gonna dry in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah,
she's just like, blow dry it. Blow dry it now. I'm like, oh my God. But when we went down, like when she was like, we have to go on Splash Mountain, and I'm like, you're going to get wet. Yeah. And then she was wanting to talk through it, and she's like, well, how wet am I going to get? Yeah. And I'm like, you're going to get wet enough, but you're not going to get soaked. Like, so I'm having like an adult conversation with her. I'm like, you will get wet though, but you're not going to be drenched. Because Evan was like, I don't know if I want to go on it and get wet. And I'm like, you just get sprinkled on Splash Mountain, And she was just like, it will happen. Yeah. It will happen.
You guys didn't see people coming off of Splash Mountain soaked?
No. No. If I would have seen it, I would have been like, we're out of here.
No.
Like, no. I'm like, sorry, Ember, it's getting vetoed. But we're in the line, and the whole time she was just like, I know you don't get wet on this ride. And she was just like, I know you don't get wet on this ride. Like, I know it's, nope. You said you're going to get wet. I know, we're not going to get wet. And so I'm like, all right, okay. I'm like, and I kept telling her, no, you will get a little wet. She's like, no, I believe it. She's like, remember how you said that Star Wars ride that we waited in line for a few hours, and you said that, and it broke down, and you said the ride we should get off out of the line. Yeah. She's like, and remember I said that it was going to start up again.
She's like, this is my intuition, bitch. I'm not getting wet.
Yeah. And she's like, I was right that time, and I'm right now. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. We got on the ride, and when I tell you, they added 2 drops. We got into the log, and it's all happening very quickly. I look in the log.
Yeah, just pools of water.
And no, not pools. 3 inches of straight water. So the second we sat down, both mine and Evan's socks and shoes were completely submerged. Fully submerged. And I'm like, oh my God. Now Ember could put her feet up, so she was okay, but like we too big, we can't. So we're like, okay, we're already absolutely soaked. They added like 2 drops, I think. First drop, which is like supposed to be some small casual drop. Evan said he saw a full wave go over me and Ember. He's like, the full wave like curled over Ember. And I turned around, and there's not a single dry part on my body. And Ember is bawling. Bawling. And she's just like, get me on this ride. And I'm like, oh my God. And then the second one hits and it's in like the darkness. There's no lights. And the water hits us out of nowhere. Both Ember and I choking on water. Another wave. I felt like I was underwater and I was drowning. Like it scared me and then it freaked Ember out. And I was like, what the fuck is with this ride? It was absolutely insane. And then, of course, you know, again, she's absolutely bawling. And then there's the final drop. And she's like, I don't want to do this. I was like, I don't want to either, but we're stuck on the ride. Okay, so like, here we go. Didn't get too wet on the last one. When we got off the ride, she was like, why would you do that to me? And I'm like, and she's like, why would you do that to me? And she made me feel so bad for like hours. And I'm like, you said you wanted to go on the ride so bad. And that girl,
like, roll the tape.
Roll the tape. And she's like, no, you said that I wasn't going to get really wet. And I said, I told you I didn't.
She's like, deceitful woman.
And yeah. And I'm like, what? But then I'm like, it's true. I told you that she probably wasn't going to get that wet, but she would get wet. And I know that you don't like getting wet. So it's going to bother you. And then we got her a full new outfit and just the whole rest of the day.
You guys only spent like $217 on like a shirt and shorts.
Spent like half my salary on like getting her an outfit. And I'm just like, but then the whole rest of the day, like every once in a while she'd turn around like a side thing and she'd be like, remember how you lied? I'm just like,
God grant me the serenity to accept, what is it?
Oh, yeah,
the patience to accept the things I cannot change.
So it's a moving thing for me. I'm just like sweating every day. I'm like, oh my God. But looping back around, long story short is, I wanted to go to Disneyland and I knew we were going to have fun. We had the best day. I knew we shouldn't go on that ride and I should have been like, nah.
No, guys.
And
yeah, but who knows? But then
there's this part of learning,
yeah.
But also at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to get wet. And I know that you're going to not, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the right, I don't know. Maybe it was the right parenting move. Maybe it was the wrong. I'm not sure. But
I don't think there was a right or the wrong, but
yeah.
She probably would have turned around the rest of the day and been like, remember when you wouldn't let me go on the log ride? And that's all I wanted at Disneyland was to go on the log
that's
ride.
True. And that wouldn't have ended. But at least I wouldn't have been called a liar.
At least you would have been. At least you wouldn't have been walking around in soaking wet Reeboks the rest of the day.
Dude, I had no skin on the bottom of my feet.
It's disgusting.
It was hours of it.
You guys, I got to run out because I'm going to be late to my interactive Van Gogh exhibit with Grayston's parents.
Oh my God, let's get you out of here.
So big day.
Broads, this had ups and downs.
Amazing chat. Wish we could have chatted for another hour. I could have done it.
And we'll keep doing it. We have a lot of things that we have to cover in our lives and chat about with each other. But broads, stay tuned tomorrow and Friday. Or not tomorrow, excuse me, Thursday and Friday, we have cast bio episodes part 1 and 2. There's not going to be a Chatty Bros episode because it's going to be a cast bio part 2 and the boys are going to be joining us for both, so stay tuned.
It'll be Chatty Bros Broads episode, cast bio.
We love you all.
I love you.
Love you. Chat soon.
Chat soon.